So lately I've decided to dip my toes into the mixing rabbit hole. I signed up for URM, currently mixing Ola Englund's amazing, beautiful band, The Haunted. Gonna be doing some other stuff on the Portfolio Builder. Not sponsored, by the way. I'm just telling you why I'm making this video. And so that anybody watching this, if you want a cheap mixer and want to help a brother out, feel free to reach out to me and maybe I'll help mix some of your stuff. I think I'm pretty decent at it. But anyway, so the point that I'm trying to make, gain staging. That was a good transition. So I heard this fancy word that people were throwing around called gain staging. I decided to look up what it was. I already had some knowledge that it was setting gain right so that mixing and recording is good and not torturous. So in my quest for knowledge, I started watching a bunch of YouTube videos on what is gain staging, when should I use it. Everybody gave me drastically different information. On one hand, I was told I need to use a VU meter on the mix bus and go through each channel one by one and set the gain for each recorded thing so that the VU was reading 0, but the meter next to the fader was reading -6 dBs peak. So like I was like, man, some of these things, they're averaging 0 VU, but they're spiking all over the place. That's not 6. And I started panicking, and then like a different video would tell me to use Logic's inbuilt normalizer to -6, and then a different video would say one other thing and another thing and another thing. Eventually, I spent an entire day at a gain stage because I was being told so many different things of this is the number you need to hit for this is the number you need to hit for that, you have to do this for every single track, different person, no you don't need to do it for every single track. And I spent an entire day trying to wrap my head around it. Come to find out, most of it was wrong information that I got, so I'm gonna make this video to hopefully help somebody else to not be as confused as I was trying to figure this out, because I understand now. The universe has opened up to me. Everything made sense. Before, trying to figure out what gain staging was driving me nuts. What if I just make that a thing of every talking video I do, whether it's like a review or anything, I just find an excuse to make a nuts joke and then I eat a nut? How's that sound? You guys want to see me eat nuts? I know some of you do. So on to the educational stuff. Sorry for yapping. I yap a lot. What actually is gain staging? How is it used? As per what I now know. So gain staging is actually a lot simpler than everyone makes it seem. It basically comes down to do not clip at all on any of your meters and don't be too quiet. That's basically what gain staging is. Now it is a little more involved if you have analog gear like analog compressors, saturations, even on the computer. Some VSTs or plugins are modeled after analog hardware. So if you're using any analog anything, analog mimicking on the computer or actual analog, it does matter a bit more. If you're solely working in the box, it doesn't necessarily matter as much because current systems have a 32-bit floating point. Apparently makes it so that you actually have a good amount of dBs to work with on both ends. So gain staging is, say you have an instrument or a microphone, you speak into it going into your interface. That's one signal at one level. It hits the interface converters. That affects the level, and depending on what you have gain set to on the input, that'll turn up or down the gain. So it changes volume there, goes into the computer, changes volume when it hits the computer. You load up plugins, and if they're analog emulating plugins or compressors, it will change the gain in there. I may say volume by accident, I really mean gain. It'll change the gain again. And basically, one signal hits something, okay, it's a little bit louder, okay, it's a little bit louder as it goes along the signal chain. Gain staging is just making sure that it stays relatively the same. If you record something too quiet, you can record below a threshold where you start hearing the floor noise, which floor noise, or noise floor rather, I don't know why I'm saying it like that. Analog gear and analog emulating gear always have a bit of hum. Even just your interface. there's some level of hum. And if you record quiet enough, you'll meet where that area is. So you want to, you know, when recording, shoot for that like -6 dB or a little bit less than that. And that makes it so that your signal's not near the noise floor, and then you won't start hearing all that extra hum and everything like that. God, I'm horrible at explaining things. Why am I doing this? Nowadays, because of the 32 float that computers have, gain staging while mixing doesn't matter as much because computers give you a lot of headroom now, but you still want to keep it around the same level ideally. Analog gear has a level that it expects to be fed. So if you feed it a signal with too much gain or too little, it'll actually greatly affect that piece of hardware or that specific VST that you were using. Let's say you want to use an analog compressor and you feed it a very, very weak signal. That signal won't really be able to hit the threshold of that compressor, and the compressor won't be able to actually do anything. So you want to make sure that the gain is at such a level that that signal does hit the compressor correctly, and so that it works as intended. Another example of gain staging while mixing, say compressor VSTs. You feed it a signal that was reading, let's say -4, and you feed it into the compressor. Compressor activates and the output signal of the compressor is at -8. Well, you want to keep the gain the same, so turn the output signal up 4 to bring it back to that -4. And that in itself is gain staging. Now, you will hear people say, you want your peaks to be -6. Some say -10, -12, -18. It's basically people just saying their favorite number. As long as you are not clipping, you're fine. And say you got your tracks themselves not clipping, but the buses are clipping. Simple thing is, well, I guess you have to turn the gain down more on the individual tracks. Say the buses aren't clipping, but your master bus is clipping. I guess you gotta bring the gain down more and everything. Basically, as long as you get it to a point where that master bus is not clipping, you're golden. You want to make sure the output of your VSTs are the same level as the input. So theoretically, the signal should stay at the level that it's been since the beginning, because it's the master person that works on raising the volume. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to make this random video to talk about how I overcomplicated something, and for anybody else who watches this, please don't overcomplicate it. If you enjoyed this short little video, leave a like and subscribe. I mainly do guitar covers and reviews. I don't usually sit and talk like this, but I don't know, man. And if anybody is interested in reaching out and wanting a cheap mix done so that your boy can learn and practice, feel free to hit up that email that should be in the description. I don't know. I never know how to end these. Just bye. That's it.